There are a lot of neighborhoods in San Diego, and it can be somewhat overwhelming trying to figure out which one's right for you. So I'm making it my goal to simplify these neighborhoods for you, one neighborhood at a time. We're going to start with the very neighborhood that I call home, Bay Park. So in this video, we're going to cover the top things to know about living in Bay Park so you can decide whether this is the right neighborhood for you. But first, as always, my name is Ryan Stuver, your go-to real estate resource here in San Diego. If you have any questions regarding anything I talk about in this video, please feel free to contact me at the email below. So first things first, let's clarify Bay Park's location within San Diego. As the name might imply, Bay Park sits just east of Mission Bay on the eastern side of the I-5 freeway, which gives Bay Park a very central location within the city of San Diego, putting you just about 10 minutes south of La Jolla and about 10 minutes north of downtown San Diego. And within Bay Park itself, there are 6 sub-neighborhoods, which are North Bay Park, West Central Bay Park Western Hills, Bay Park Morena, Overlook Heights Bay Park, and Claremont Village. And interestingly, Bay Park is split right down the middle of Claremont Drive into 2 separate zip codes, 92117, which is Claremont, and 92110, which is Morena, which puts North Bay Park, West Central Bay Park, and Claremont Village in the 92117 zip code, while Bay Park Western Hills, Bay Park Morena, and Overlook Heights Bay Park are in the 92110 zip code. So that covers Bay Park's location and the sub-neighborhoods Bay Park is made up of. Now, I want to talk about what you should expect to pay if you want to live here. So Bay Park is interesting because you're almost a coastal community as you sit just behind Mission Bay, but you are still physically separated from the water by the I-5 freeway, which puts housing prices in a bit of a middle ground as they aren't as high as places like Mission Beach or Pacific Beach, but they aren't as low as places like Claremont either. And to further complicate the situation, since Bay Park is split into 2 separate zip codes, it makes using the SCAR local market updates unreliable, as there is a $185,000 price difference between the 2 zip codes for single-family homes specifically, with 92110 having a median sales price of $1,370,000, while 92117 has a median sales price of $1,185,000. And at the same time, condos and townhomes have a price gap of $101,250, with 92110 sitting at a median sales price of $630,000, while 92117 has a median sales price of $528,750. So the most reliable way to really understand what housing costs are in Bay Park is to manually pull a map search of just Bay Park specifically. And when I pulled these numbers, we get a median sales price of $1.6 million for single-family homes and $666,662 for condos and townhomes. So if you're looking to purchase a home in Bay Park, you should be expecting to pay prices closer to Pacific Beach rather than Claremont. So now that we understand the price of entry into this community, let's shift our focus a bit and talk about what you could actually expect to be doing here once you live here. So Bay Park is much more of a traditional suburban community in contrast to places like North Park, where the community tends to be much more compact and you have a strong mix of urban and suburban infrastructure. And even though Bay Park is primarily a suburban neighborhood, there is still a strong amount of businesses, parks, and services incorporated into this community for locals to use and enjoy. The best example of this is Bay Park's connection to Mission Bay Park. And there's plenty of things to do at Mission Bay Park, first of which is to stop by Super Bloom Cafe and grab some coffee or lunch. You can head over to the Mission Bay Golf Course and hit some golf balls at the driving range, or play 9 to 18 holes. You can always go enjoy the bay itself and go swimming, paddleboarding, kayaking, or boating. Or you can simply go for a nice walk or have a picnic in the shade. And I should note that Mission Bay Park is home to Fiesta Island, which you are allowed to physically drive your car onto. And when you're here, there isn't a lot to do on the island, but on the western side, there is a large dog park, and there are also fire pits spread all throughout the island for anyone to come use and enjoy. Although you should note that you are allowed to legally drink on Fiesta Island, so if you're leaving in the afternoon or evening, you should keep your eyes open for any wary drivers. And there's one more park I need to mention. It's a small community park in the neighborhood of Bay Park Western Hills, which is Western Hills Park. This is a small local community park, making it a great place to take any young kids if you have any, as it's usually only occupied by locals, and it has a nice open field, a singular basketball court, and 1 playground. And I promise there's more to this neighborhood than just parks. For example, off of Morena Blvd, residents have access to places like Offshore Tavern, Harlan Brewing Company, Bay Park Coffee, Luce, Bay Park Fish Company, and Cecil's Meats, which is a butchery and a deli. And just up the hill a bit off of Claremont Drive, you have access to places like Bay Hill Tavern, Side Piece Bar, Sandwich Emporium, California Taco Shop, Pit Stop Pizza, and Roberto's Taco Shop, just to name a few. Now that we have an understanding of some of the stuff you can expect to do while living in Bay Park, I want to reshift our focus back to the perks of the actual location itself. Bay Park is about a 10 to 15 minute drive to almost anywhere within the city of San Diego, and this is because of Bay Park's proximity to the I-5 freeway, as the ability to access this freeway in just minutes puts you in close proximity to plenty of places like downtown San Diego, Ocean Beach, Mission Beach, Pacific Beach, La Jolla, SDSU, UCSD, USD, and even the San Diego International Airport. Bay Park's location also gives you access to that beautiful coastal weather, so you have that amazing coastal breeze, gloomy mornings, and moderate temperatures year-round. Bay Park is also home to Claremont Village Shopping Center, which sits just at the top of Claremont Drive, and is home to Sprouts, which is the closest grocery store to Bay Park, along with several other businesses like Fast Times Bar and Grill, Mountain Mike's Pizza, Starbucks, Baskin Robbins, and Carl's Jr. Plus, with SeaWorld being located in Mission Bay, you also gain access to nightly fireworks shows during the summer and on any special holiday weekends like the 4th of July or Memorial Day. And the last thing I want to highlight about Bay Park's location is the easy access you are afforded here to the MTS trolley system, with Morena Blvd being home to 3 separate Blue Line trolley stops, which are the Balboa Avenue Transit Center, Claremont Drive, and Tecolote Road. And I do want to mention that the Blue Line does make 7 different stops in downtown San Diego, so if you live in Bay Park, you do have an additional option to get to downtown if you don't feel like making the drive or having to worry about parking once you get there. Plus, for any potential UCSD students, the Blue Line does have a stop on campus at UCSD, so this can help eliminate the need to find parking on a daily basis. And even though this stop isn't directly in Bay Park, I did want to mention it since it's only about a 5-minute drive away over in the Morena district, and it is the closest Green Line trolley stop to Bay Park, which is the Morena Linda Vista trolley station. And with the Green Line running directly from El Cajon to downtown San Diego, this gives Bay Park's residents another way to access places like the Mission and Fashion Valley malls, SDSU, since there is a stop directly in the center of campus, and Snapdragon Stadium. Now up to this point, I've mostly talked about the good aspects of Bay Park, but there are some things you need to keep in mind before deciding to move here. The biggest thing to note is the constant noise associated with living in Bay Park. Since you are so close to the I-5 freeway, you do hear the road noise on a daily basis, but not just from the I-5 freeway, also from Morena Blvd and Claremont Drive, which are both main thoroughfares and are fairly busy during the day. Plus, running parallel to Morena Blvd are the MTS Blue Line trolley tracks, and trolleys do run on a daily basis between 5 a.m. and 11 p.m. 7 days a week, so you should be prepared to hear trolleys multiple times an hour during this window of time. But guess what? That's not all. Because running directly parallel to the MTS Blue Line trolley tracks is a set of Amtrak train tracks, so you should also be prepared to hear any train noise coming from any passenger trains like the California Surfliner, or any cargo trains that utilize these train tracks as well. And unfortunately, as beautiful and exciting as the SeaWorld fireworks are, they do come with the drawback of being quite loud. So during the summer, you will need to get too accustomed to the loud booms associated with the nightly fireworks shows. And lastly, I did want to mention, if you end up living in the Bay Park Morena neighborhood, you are likely to see and hear the lights and sirens coming from the San Diego Fire and Rescue Station number 25. As when the trucks are called and they need to access the I-5 freeway, they will typically take Napier Street up to Erie Street, take a left, and go all the way down to Ingolf Street, where they'll take another left onto Denver Street, and then finally one last left onto Claremont Drive, where they'll have access to the I-5 freeway. So with all of this in mind, my final thoughts are Bay Park is an amazing neighborhood to live in if you want ocean and bay views, free fireworks shows in the summer, coastal weather, a central location, access to public transit, and walkability, all while being able to live in a suburban community. But obviously all of this doesn't come cheap, with a median sales price of $1.6 million for a single family home and $666,662 for a condo or townhome. And you also need to have a high tolerance for noise, as Bay Park has plenty of it, not just from the I-5 freeway, but from the fire station, fireworks, trolleys, and trains. But in my opinion, if you can afford the price of entry, the noise associated with living in Bay Park is a small price to pay for the convenience and lifestyle afforded to you by living in Bay Park. But enough of what I think, I'd love to know what you think. Would you live in Bay Park? What do you think of my list? Was there anything that I missed? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot to me. And again, my name is Ryan Stuver. If you have any questions regarding anything I talked about in this video, please feel free to reach out to me at the phone number or email below. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace!